So what I'm going to start with is just a quick overview of the Stonefield Query dealer program. As a Stonefield Query dealer, we do provide you with NFR licenses. Should you be doing some sort of training or have a training center set up and you need more than 1 or 2 NFRs, happy to do that. Should you use different versions of ACT in virtual machines, you have ACT 2011 in one, ACT 2012 in another, ACT 2013 in another. Again, happy to go ahead and get you more than 1 NFR. It's important to know that Stonefield Query works with ACT 3.0. We do go back that far, all the way up through the most current version, ACT 2013. So we can certainly meet the needs of a broad swath of ACT users. Stonefield Query partners receive a 40% discount off of license purchases. We do also have a SaaS model, or software as a service model. It is not hosted. The customer still keeps control of all of their reports for Stonefield Query and everything. They just pay to use Stonefield Query on a monthly basis. The monthly subscription for Stonefield Query for ACT is $44.95 per month. Whenever users do go ahead and purchase what's called the report design license, we give them 5 runtime report viewer licenses for free. That, including maintenance, which is support, upgrades, and technical support, is $938. We do also offer our report viewer license. We do have some folks that only have 1 or 2 reports that they want to run, and that is $281. And all 3 options fit across all different types of businesses. So what we're going to move on to now, are merging reports into PDFs. This is a new feature in Stonefield Query. So I could take my say my history by activity type report. I can select output to file. I could say history by activity type PDF. Display file after creation. I'm going to go ahead and hit process. So when I go ahead and hit process, this report runs. The file is created and it displays on the screen. So we can see activity type. Contact is Ethan Campbell. We have Ethan's activity. We have Lance, and so on. This report is 2 pages long. I'm going to go ahead and close my PDF. I'm going to go ahead and select my history by record manager and activity type. I selected this one because it is a cross-tab report. It's a different style of report. I'm going to click append to existing file, select my history by activity type, go ahead and hit process. Let me go ahead and, I'm just going to back this down, click OK. So Stonefield Query has appended that to the file. I'm going to go ahead and minimize everything. I'm going to go ahead and run this particular PDF off my desktop. So we can see here's the first report that we had, which is our quick report. Let me scroll down here. And here's our second report. Here's our history by record manager and activity type. And here's our cross-tab report showing how many blank activities, how many meetings, to-dos Allison, Chris, and Ernst have accomplished in that particular period of time. You can merge as many reports into one PDF as you would like. Your only limitations would be any limitations that are on how big PDFs can become. So this is a great way to, the reason I wanted to show this today is that oftentimes customers will come to us and they'll say, hey, you know what, I have ACT, I want my report to look exactly like this. It's got this data, and typically that ends up being a custom report the way they have their data laid out in an Excel file, for instance, or a Word document. But oftentimes Stonefield Query can accomplish that in 3 really easy reports that take about 5 minutes to do. It allows us to go back to the customer and say, hey, you know what? We can create this report exactly as the way you have it right now. It's going to cost XYZ to do so. Or you can set it up to append into one PDF. You'll have all the data in one area, and it's just in a sequential location. And oftentimes now, we're able to meet the customer's need without the customer having to end up utilizing a custom report. And it's something that they can build on their own, or you could build for them in a matter of minutes, as opposed to taking hours to build that. I was asked recently by an ACT consultant. They said, hey, you know what, can Stonefield Query report on the activity type field in ACT? I mean, this is something that is difficult to report on with the way that the data is stored in ACT. You can't actually get to it right now with the built-in report writer. And the answer to that is absolutely. So I created a few different reports, and you can see they're in this folder, ACT 2010 and later version samples, history by activity type with a chart, history by record manager and activity type, and then history by record manager with activity type and the details of those particular history items. So the history by activity type we already saw. I'll go ahead and run that with the chart so we can see what that looks like. And then I'll show you how we went ahead and created this report. So here's our activity type, which is meeting. Contact is Ethan, and it's showing his history items below that for the specific date range. I wanted to eliminate activity types that are blank, so I did activity type is not blank. I have a long date range. I'm using the ACT demo data set, which is pretty small. And then when we go to page 2 and scroll down, you can see that I've embedded a chart that shows, whatever record managers are on this report, and then how many of each activity type. To create this report, all we did was go to the contact table and grabbed contact and added that. We then went to the contact history table. It says contact history. All the fields are here. I went ahead and selected a field and either add select items or double-clicked to add activity type, start date time, record manager, result, and details. I'm going to go ahead and run this report again. And we'll go back and see some other things we did. So you can see we have our activity type and our contact. They're in bold. I went ahead and did what's called grouping by those fields. So I'm going to close my preview, double-click on activity type, click on the grouping tab, and you can see I added group on this field and show the count in the group footer. And I'm sorting it A to Z. Should I want to do descending order, I could just make that change right here. I then also selected my contact field, went to grouping, and said group on this field. When I have multiple groupings, I could place all the fields in the group header on the same line. Go ahead and run this report again. Take a quick look at it. Oh, you know what? And that is the second grouping. You have to do that in your top level group. Our top level was activity type. And I made a mistake there. That actually, let me clarify that. That actually won't work because this is a contact field and this is a contact history field. So that will only work with group fields that are not in your detail section. I went ahead and created my filter. In my filter, I just picked the start date time from contact history. I set a specific date range. When you want to be prompted every time, you hit ask at runtime. And then again, as I mentioned, I went to contact history. I said activity type is not blank. The ACT demo has some activity types that are blank. I decided to sort via my start date time, where when I have multiple history items for one individual record, so it'll actually show up in order. And then I didn't make any changes here, but you could actually free type in your header. You can put in, you can actually put in some code or actually some expressions. So you could put an expression in the header. I'm not going to get into that today, but an expression could say history by activity type with chart. And you could actually pull in the date range of that by not actually showing the whole filter, but just pulling in the date range. So there's different things that you can do in your headers and footers when it comes to using expressions. To embed a chart, I just clicked on chart. I hit edit. I grabbed certain fields. You can make any changes that you want here. You just hit finish. Now when we run this again, We go to page 2. We scroll down. You can see the chart. This is a series chart. I put total field over here. I put record manager at the bottom, and then in my series I use the activity type. That way you can see for Chris Hoffman, I'm not just getting one bar, but I'm getting values for all of Chris's meetings and to-dos. So it really is that easy to make reports with the activity field. There's nothing special you have to do. You don't have to write code. Your customers don't have to write code. It's that easy to do any kind of reports with the activity type field with Stonefield Query. The next one that I'm going to show you would be we often get asked, hey, can I do a report that pulls in only the last history item that's recorded, or the most recent note, or the most recent activity, and so on. And so I went ahead and created some sample reports that do this. It's fairly easy to do in Stonefield Query. What you do is you add the fields that you want to see in the report first. I added company and contact from the contact table, and I added 4 fields from the contact history table. It's a very basic report. This is designed to show you how easy it is to do this. I went in and I made a grouping via company. I filtered the report in a specific date range and time. I wanted to be able to select the time also. And typically when you're looking at the most recent or the oldest or the last history or whatever, you're going to want to bring this up so you can actually see the entire time in this particular step. You're also going to want to select the start date time as a sort field. And then at this step, it just depends on what you plan on doing in what's called the advanced designer to make this happen on what you choose here. If you're going to select the start date time and hit A to Z or ascending order, you're going to take all of your detail fields and throw those down into your footer. If you choose Z to A, you put them in your header. I chose A to Z. So I went into my advanced layout designer, company, contact, record manager, start date time, result history type, and regarding and details. Regarding and details is a calculated field that we put in here for you. We're all inside or above the word detail. I copied them all down into my group footer. Go ahead and hit preview. I'm going to go ahead and run the report for the date range selected. In Stonefield Queries, we're only going to return 1 record per company. So I have my A1 services, Andy Harrison, 10/30/2009. It shows at 4:36 a.m. The result was a new opportunity. It was an upgrade for Blackpool. Act sales cycle needs assessment 25%. I already have that record here, so we can actually see there's multiple items on 10/30/2009, and we are getting the most recent one at 4:36 a.m. We've included in our latest update with Stonefield Query, go ahead and hit finish here. We've included in the latest update 4 different reports that accomplish this. Most recent contact history by company, most recent contact note, most recent contact note, not sorted but grouped, and most recent opportunity history by company. So these were reports that we've been asked for by customers, by other ACT consultants. We've created them and added them in, and we continue to do so. Every time I get a request from one of the ACT consultants for a report like this, I create it and put it in here into the samples for future use. Before getting into questions, last thing I'd like to touch on here would be some performance enhancements. We did have some questions about the length of time that it was taking to run activity reports, history reports, note reports, specifically due to the details field. Details field is a memo field. It can store tons and tons and tons of data, especially when you have emails coming in and out. And some of the extremely large reports or large reports were taking a long time to run. And we went to take a look at how we were handling that data. And what we were doing is we were constantly sending a request. We were sending a request to ACT. ACT was handing us the data for every single record. It was going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth for processing. What we did is we were able to change that to say, ACT, hey, you know what, ACT, give us all the data, and we're just going to process it locally on the computer and crunch through that data. we were able to take a large activity report that was taking 407 seconds, a little over 6 minutes to run, and get that down to 1.15 seconds within our benchmark testing. Huge decrease, obviously. Extra large activity report, which we pumped a whole bunch of data into ACT. We pumped tons and tons of data into the details of the activities. We were able to get a huge report that was running over a long time. It was taking 4,813 seconds. If you got your calculator out, you can see that's about 80 minutes, which is highly unacceptable to most users to run, especially even when you're scheduling them overnight. We were able to get that down to 1.65 seconds in our benchmark testing. We took a history report. History reports typically run a little faster than activity reports. That's because of how ACT handles activities and recurring activities, and they typically take a little bit longer to report on. We were able to take, again, we pumped data into ACT. We just took our own data and pumped in long email chains that we had into ACT. We were able to take that from 193 seconds, which is about 3.5 minutes or 3.2 minutes, and get that down to 1.87 seconds. So you can see that huge performance increases in Stonefield Query. And again, these are things that stemmed from requests we had from customers using Stonefield Query saying, hey, reports are taking a little bit longer. Looks like one of the questions that was asked is, so you can schedule several reports and have the second report append into the first report and the third report append into the second report automatically. That is something I'm going to look into and have that as a follow-up. I'm not sure if that works that way. The only quirk that I can see there is when you schedule it, if you're scheduling it to run every week and you're appending it, you're going to have a report that just continues to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger if you don't go and move, that specific file. So I'm going to look into that as a follow-up and get back to everybody on that. I'll make sure that gets into the email I send out with the link to the recording. We'll look to see if there's any other questions. Any other questions? Anyone? Feel free to go ahead and type those up. Right now, I don't see any other questions coming in. By chance, you're thinking about this afterwards today and questions come up, go ahead and zip me an email. You can send that right to jason@stonefieldquery.com, and I am happy to go ahead and answer any additional questions you have, any client requirements that you would like to go over. Happy to cover that with you too, and show you how Stonefield Query is going to be able to meet your client needs. I want to thank everybody for coming out. Looks like one last question here says, clients get the version for ACT 2013 if they are on maintenance? Absolutely. Any clients that are current on their Stonefield Query maintenance are entitled to head right out to our website and download the latest version, which does work with ACT 2013. Any customers who may be expired, let me know. We're happy to get you pricing on that. We can bring those customers current. Any customers you have on ACT 2010, ACT 2011, ACT 2012 or so, even earlier versions, happy to work that out, and we can get customers updated to the latest version. So once again, thanks for attending, everybody, today, and I will get this recording converted and sent out to everybody. Thank you. Have a great day. Bye now.